I think if people hear the whole story and not given this cherry-picked, watered-down, eat more healthy whole grains business, if people hear the real story, then they're empowered to make their own decisions.
So I guess the first question I want to ask you is for our audience, how has wheat changed from the early days to what we're eating today?
Well, you can see it. It's very visible and obvious. If I had a traditional wheat plant, it would stand about shoulder high to a grown adult, about 4.5, 5 feet tall. If I had an example of modern high-yield semi-dwarf wheat, well, that would be way down here, about 18 inches tall, much thicker, stockier. The seed head is very long. The seeds are very big. So it's obvious. I live in Wisconsin. I drive 5 miles. I can see a wheat field at the end of the summer, and it's obviously a very different plant. Well, the external changes are accompanied by internal changes, changes in the genetics, changes in the biochemistry, and changes on the effects of humans who consume this stuff.
Why is the medical and nutrition community having a hard time in embracing this?
I think they've been so indoctrinated into this notion that healthy whole grains are good for you. And you know what? The science doesn't really say that. What the science says is if we replace white flour products with whole grains, there is a health benefit. That's not in question. There are numerous epidemiologic studies that bear that out. If you replace white flour products with whole grains, you're going to have less diabetes, less weight gain, less heart disease, not weight loss, less weight gain, heart disease, less colon cancer, no question. The next logical question should have been, what happens compared to a non-grain consuming population? So we don't find those data in those epidemiologic studies. We have to look elsewhere for those studies, but they exist. And we see striking changes. We can see remission of rheumatoid arthritis. We can see drops in blood sugar and hemoglobin A1C in diabetics. We can see improved behavior in children with ADHD and autism.
Is there anything that people can have while they go cold turkey that will reduce their cravings?
Some people have had a little success with 5-HTP. My favorite way is to load up on fat.
Please talk more about this. People quit, like with cigarettes, they quit, but then they have to quit 3 or 4 times. So I think this is a really important part. Please continue.
Well, part of the healthy whole grain message is the fat phobia that's been provoked by dietary advice. So we have to get beyond that fat phobia. And I mean that quite literally. I tell people, buy fatty cuts of meat if you eat meat. Ask for the liver if you're going to have chicken or poultry. Eat the dark meat, eat the skin, save the bones, boil them for soup. Don't skim off the fat or the gelatin when it cools. More fat, more coconut oil, more extra virgin olive oil, more egg yolks, more fat, because fat's very satiating. It's very satisfying. And so it tends to subdue those cravings and the desire to go back.
So my role is to educate health coaches, to be able to reach out to the population. And so what would you say a health coach can do with a client who just loves wheat and toast and breakfast cereal?
You know, I think all we all can do is educate people. We can't make them follow a specific way of eating. But my experience has been, if people are told the full story, that the wheat of today is not the wheat of our mothers or grandmothers, that among its effects are opiate effects that have been exploited by big food, and explains why wheat is in virtually every processed food because it stimulates appetite, that has implications for child health, from type 1 diabetes to inflammatory diseases to learning impairment, skin rashes, allergy, etc. So there's so many health implications here. I think if people hear the whole story and not given this cherry-picked, watered-down, eat more healthy whole grains business, if people hear the real story, then they're empowered to make their own decisions. And that's what this is about. It's not about forcing people to eat a certain way. It's about informing people, educating them to know what's really going on.
Well, thank you so much for being a pioneer and a hero.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.